media. Today we are going to talk about a very important topic, and that is how Karnataka and the communal politics is going hand in hand. For the first time in post-colonial history, Karnataka, which is otherwise known as tolerant state or progressive state, is losing its sheen to the communal politics. Communalism, both as an ideology and as politics, has become an everyday phenomenon, even as it is entering the dishes of the dining table and the kitchen. The days of treating communalism as largely as urban, metropolitan, or even cosmopolitan phenomenon are gone. The days of discussing communalism as an aberration or as a cultural phenomenon are gone. The day is not too far when we see even the drinking water divided into Muslim water and Hindu water, as it happened during the colonial period in Punjab and the northwestern region. The divide is slow but steady, with minorities perpetually living under the shadow of violence, dislocation, displacement, and the fear of the other. Well, all this is happening amid the history's amnesia. Karnataka never witnessed the partition, neither did it witness its severity, nor the historical memories. For a large number of Kannadikas, unlike North Indians, partition was a textual point of reference and also a textual narrative rather than an experience. Well, there was no Sadat Manto or Amrita Pritam or even Urvashi Butalia to document the experience of partition of Kannadikas. And what Karnataka had was a bunch of rationalist writers, beginning with Pampa, Ranna, Kuvempu, and others who unquestionably constructed Kannada identity as a romantic vision than a communal one. With strong social movement, be it the Dalit movement of the 1970s, the farmers movement of the 1980s, or the anti-beauty pageant movement in the 1990s, anti-globalization movement during the post-1990s, added to the vibrant, secular, rational political landscape here. Well, one cannot forget the non-Brahmin movement of the 1920s, which converted old Mysore into a role model for accommodating hundreds of subaltern castes into a political structure. Its influence is still felt, albeit to different degrees in contemporary politics. Well, it is true that unlike North India, Karnataka never witnessed the pillage of religious places or forcible conversion, albeit with some expectations in its history. Rather, Karnataka witnessed dialogue between two dominant cultures, which is reflected in the Dasa tradition as well as the Sufi tradition, even as it created a mass of fuzzy communities with borderline religions. Well, in North Karnataka, it was difficult to demarcate the line between one religion and another. Shishunala Sharif, Baba Budan, etc. represented such blend. Even Bappa Berry, known as constructing for the Durga Parameshwari temple at Mulki, wherein Muslim merchants were denied the right to do business during the temple festival in the recent days, is another example. Well, there are reports of Hindu constructing mosques in history also. In Karnataka, Babu Setti had constructed a stone mosque in Sidlaghatta at Mandya district in 1537 AD. This mosque was called the Kala Mashithiya Devasthanam, which meant the temple of stone mosque. Well, there is another story about the king of Penukonda converting a temple into a mosque for the sake of Sufi saint Baba Fakhruddin and constructing a dargah or shrine after his death. Well, yet another story, the emperor of Vijayanagara, Devaraya too, constructed a mosque of the Muslim soldiers of his army inside his own fort. Well, all this over the years have strengthened the secular fabric as well as protected Karnataka from falling into the trap of communal politics and also the Hindutva agenda. Well, it is a paradox that in the present context, the fringe elements of Hindutva are the ones setting the agenda or calling the shots rather than political parties in the power. The agenda that Hindu majoritarianism has come to stay forever to dictate terms to minorities. Well, this is a shift from the victimhood syndrome that earlier Hindutva created to the triumphalism of the majoritarianism. Well, this shift to discernible event in another narratives that the Hindus are no more chicken-hearted. Every Hindu has become a masculine character. Hindu agenda is the only one agenda that the state should address. Hindu culture life, where it is vegetarian food, jhatka meat, etc., should be the dominant culture. Well, any reference to other cultural practices such as Salam Aarti, a puja offered every day in the name of Tipu Sultan in 2 temples in Karnataka, or any reference to Tipu as a tiger of Mysore in the school textbooks, even the participation of the Muslims in temple festivals is anathema to the very identity of Hindus. Well, interestingly, Hindutva is hard-pressed to focus on its pet topic of nationalism or even referring to Pakistan. But this is why Hindutva is sequentially inventing new narratives and issues followed by new cultural icons. Here lies some sort of defeatism as well. For example, in the matter of halal meat, azan or Kesari jihad, the defeatism is quite obvious as the matter received far less reaction than expected. Well, the other side of the invention is outside the realm of minorities. The birthplace of Hanuman is invented around the areas of Vijayanagar Empire, a symbol of Hindu pride. Well, suddenly a Kashmir ruler who is completely unconnected to the history of Karnataka is being invented for the textbooks. Now, Kesari Jihad or Saffron Jihad is being invented against Love Jihad. Well, there is deep silence of the minorities on the issue of azan, halal meat, trading, etc. Although they reacted by observing Band immediately after the verdict on Hijab. Well, paradoxically, the rhetoric of the Hindu state is slowly gaining currency in the everyday discourses and practices. Hopefully, this is not the end of history, and we hope that. Well, stay with us. We shall bring you more such interesting topics to talk upon. This is Aparna Singh reporting for iScope Media.